we're live, and I'm even a little early, which is nice. Trying to make up for the last couple of days. So much stuff to talk about tonight. We got the Project Nova. I wouldn't say it's back in full swing, but something happened to it today, so that's good. We also have the 8.1 turbo video that I posted today, so you guys can see the results of the like massive torque offered by what happens when you add a turbo to anything that's big like that. What do I got here? I probably got dirt and stuff from. I got to use the pressure washer on the Nova, so I was really excited about that. That always helps. It doesn't. I found out it doesn't actually take rust off, but it does take lots of other stuff off, so it's good. But not before breaking into the trunk. So I have a whole story about that. But the Turbo 8.1 awesomeness, and also if you saw the thumbnail is actually, because a lot of times when I run a motor on the dyno, especially the way that I configure it on the dyno, which is it has to fit, basically. It has to work and all the things have to connect. I don't really package it so that, it fits nicely under the hood of a C5 Corvette. That's not what I'm testing. I'm just testing the turbo and showing what happens with boost. It doesn't matter what route it has to go through to get there. Unless we were doing the remote turbo test, which I did also. But I get that all the time. I'm putting something together, super Richie intake thing on there with the intercooler and all that stuff. And because my goal when I'm putting the intercooler on is to use I have lots and lots of tubing, but I want to do it without cutting anything and making it permanent. So the more that I can do with the stuff that I have without cutting anything, the more that it'll stay that way. And then I can cut it later on if I have to. I don't weld anything together other than sometimes the exhaust, but not on the inlet, not the aluminum stuff. So I just try to, get it all together. And sometimes it's a lot. It's a little more than a little bit elaborate. And then people will walk in and go, yeah, but what does that fit in? I'm like, well, it fits right there in the dyno cell. And that's all that I'm trying to do. But the reason that I posted the thumbnail that I posted was to demonstrate that these things that go on the dyno, like when I run the Turbo LSs or the Buick or Cadillac or whatever it is, just because I chose to make it easy for me to put it on there and have it work and have access to everything, doesn't mean that all you do is just package it to fit in the engine compartment. You do that and run the exhaust manifolds in your Y pipe and position the turbo wherever you have to push it, wherever you have to put it. And if you run that same turbo and the same boost level in the motor that I ran, it's going to do the same thing. It doesn't care that it has all that other stuff and it's got the Super Richie intake design on it. None of that, or air intake and the discharge tube and that kind of stuff. It doesn't really care about that. So I get that comment a lot. So it really doesn't matter. And that's what I was trying to demonstrate with the thumbnail. It's an 8.1. That particular one now has a cam, a very small cam in it, but he's also run it stock. And he's running for hundreds of thousands of miles, running it around, towing with, using it as a truck, not just like, it's not a drag race truck, it's a truck. And so not only can you do it, but you can tow with it, you can make it work, and you can do all that stuff. It's a stock bottom end. His has ring gap in it. Mine obviously didn't, but we were very safe on the tune. And it had ice, or it had E85. It had an air to water intercooler. It was only 7 pounds. So, but Mike's stuff works very well, and it shows you that what happened in the dyno is real and can actually be used out in the real world. Now his transmission, his Allison transmission, has lasted a long time. It's still the original one. So not only can you do it, but you can also do it with that transmission. I didn't know that with that much power and torque and especially lugging things with it, but apparently it does work. So these aren't just like fly by night numbers. That's real stuff that you can actually use. And that's why I wanted to put that thumbnail up there, because it's real. And I also like the fact that it's a remote turbo. So it's back underneath the bed. I also like the fact that he used the CX Racing single core air to water intercooler that I've used time and time again, because it's kind of 1,000 horsepower deal. We've used it many times. It's stuff that's there or less, and it works really well. In fact, I think that's the same one that my buddy Jimmy is using on the NSX, because with that 3.2 liter J series that he swapped in the NSX with the turbo on it, up in that level is kind of where we're thinking that this thing is eventually going to go. It's already doing over 600 at the tire at fairly low boost. So it's going there too. And the 8.1 in the truck of the 3500 is not running anywhere near that power. So that intercooler is very efficient and works very well. Again, it's an air to water intercooler used in a real application, with a turbo. towing things, driving around, zipping around, and it has a secondary heat exchanger up front, and all of that stuff is working just fine. So for all the people that tell you that, oh, that can't work, that's terrible, they heat soak, they do all these things, that's not reality. And the way that we ran it, or some configuration of how we ran it on the dyno, actually works out in the real world. And this is a perfect example of that. So I'm excited about that. So if you guys haven't taken a look at the video on the Turbo 8.1, you should, because it's like, and I have another video coming, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but the amount of torque that thing made was very, very impressive. And it would be really fun to have that, not just for towing like the 3500 is doing, but also even in almost any kind of vehicle. If you put that kind of torque in any kind of vehicle, even if it only revs to 5,000 or 55, even at 5,500, it still make a lot, even though that's on the downside of the curve. But with a small cam like we do with the LS, cam springs and that kind of boost, it's just, it's a groundswell of torque. And it would be a lot of fun, especially if your idea of fun is to put something like that in something and then just to be able to go out and, do smoky burnouts. Although it would also run very well at the track because it makes a lot of average power production. And you could do it with almost any gear. You could put whatever gear in there you want. You could put a 308 or 273 or a 241 or a 20, whatever you want. It just has enough torque that it doesn't take much multiplication to actually get that thing going. So I was real excited when Mike brought that truck over and I got to look at it and take some photos. I have a photo of the engine compartment too. And it looks really cool. And I like the fact that he's out using it because, like I said, it demonstrates that the stuff isn't just a gee whiz experiment on the dyno, and that these 8.1s are fairly stout, just like most motors, that if you put ring gap in them and you tune them correctly, you can do a lot of stuff with boost. Whatever's there, it just kind of multiplies what's going on. And the 8.1 is obviously no different. So if you haven't taken a look at the video, go take a look at the video. You can see I ran it at like 6 pounds, 7 pounds, up near 8 pounds, and then that's when the rod end on the dyno on the load cell cracked, and then we eventually fixed it. But I didn't run any more boosted runs after that. But I'm certain it would run more than that. Although you're getting up to where not too many pounds of boost away from running 1,000 foot-pounds torque. It would be a lot. What I would like to do and what I plan to do on that now on the 8.1 is do a bunch of NA testing. So we'll run the Amos sent a ported version of the stock manifold. I have the Dart manifold. We're going to run some cams on it, possibly some ported heads. I've had people offer me other kinds of aluminum heads and different kinds of intakes, some Arizona Speed Marine stuff. So there's a lot of cool things that I want to try. And then we could, maybe after I put ring gap and stuff in it, maybe run boost after that. But now you guys should know, you kind of know what's going to happen. Whatever the curve is, whatever we do to change the curve, then the boost is just going to make basically more of that. And that's what's happening on the stock one. And that's what will happen after we put a cam in it, or if we put a different intake manifold on that. All of that stuff will continue to happen with boost. And that's the beauty of it, because it just makes more of whatever is there. So on the Nova, we were talking about the Nova last night. In fact, we should get a poll going, because the poll last night was, will the Nova run by the end of April? And so we had more thinking that yes, it would. So it got me inspired, and actually went out and did some work on the Nova today. Two of the things that I did, one, I had to break into the trunk. So unfortunately, I don't have the key for the trunk. I thought the key for the trunk was in the trunk, and I thought that I could get through to the trunk from the inside because all the interior's off of it. So I just had to move it out of the way. But there's not enough access. There's not a through path to get in there and find it. And since I have a lot of stuff in the trunk that came from the interior in various places, that I couldn't see the keys that I thought were in there to, get them with a hook or a magnet or something. So I unfortunately had to drill out the lock and move that and knock that out of the way, which I did. And so that's open, and now I can get access to that stuff. And as it turned out, the key wasn't even in there anyways. So I probably have it somewhere. I did find the keys to it, but neither one of those keys opened the trunk. And so I thought I had a second one because I'd opened the trunk before. And so now it's been so long. That's what happens when you have project cars. You don't work on them for a long time. You forget stuff like that. But I digress. So the other thing that I did was I got to take out the pressure washer And before I had taken, when I first got this Nova, I had the Nova's Arc, because this thing has definitely been underwater, because there's dirt everywhere inside of everything, the dash, under the dashboard. I mean, just everywhere. And I think it was submerged for a while. But right when I bought it and brought it home, I immediately took it over to the car wash place and I sprayed it off, as best I could to get everything out of it. And then at home, I also took the hose with a nozzle and tried to spray everything out to try to get. And there's just like, there's just farm dirt coming out of there just left and right, or river bottom dirt, or whatever, wherever this thing was. But then the pressure washer takes off even more. The pressure washer also takes off stuff that was on the suspension. What I did was today I kind of concentrated on the engine compartment, because I think I can actually paint the engine compartment black, because it's mostly that color anyway. And I could paint that back black. And I think with not too much work, actually have the engine compartment looking somewhat decent. And the nice thing about that early car is there's not a lot of stuff there that's in the way. You could take everything off and have it walnut shelled or glass beaded or whatever, and have it, but there's so much rust on the car that, you'd have to end up replacing lots and lots of stuff. And I'm just not going to do that, but I will do a little bit of work to make at least the engine compartment, I think, can kind of look nice. And so we're leaning toward the LS. And if that's the case, then I don't have till the end of April. I only have till LS Fest. So the goal would be to not just get it running, but to get it running and drive out to LS Fest if we're going to go the LS route. Luckily, I already have an LS that runs in the shape of that L33, which is probably what I would put in there. So that's kind of the goal now. And with that goal in mind, I'm doing prep work to get it to work. and to be able to drive it out there is going to take a few things, because it's got a cracked windshield, which I would want to replace. Obviously, the brakes would need to be gone through, lots of suspension stuff, but I have a lot of that stuff. So I think that after, with down at West Tech for a couple of weeks or whatever it takes to get it going, I think I could really get it going. It's still gonna have holes in the floors and all that stuff, and the seat belt, I'll have seat belt on it, but the seat might be zip tied down or something. It will be bolted, but they just drilled holes in the floor, because, I mean, let's face it, you could almost push holes through it because it already has lots of holes already. Master lock pick set. Yeah, I used the master lock pick set. It said Makita on it, and it was red, and it spun really fast. that opened it right up. I probably could have researched online picking the lock, but I don't have a lock pick set. And I also didn't have the time, because I wanted to get that done before I decided to do this like at 6 o'clock or whatever. So I wanted to get that done. That was my goal, was to get that done and get some underhood pressure washing done before I would come on here and talk to you guys about it. So that's the Nova. That's the plan for the Nova. So now I just need to figure out with the LS, I just need to figure out what flywheel and clutch I use to mate to the Saginaw, so that the distance is right for, engaging and disengaging the clutch. Because I know that the LS will bolt to that transmission, but I just need to make sure that everything is going to work there. So that will be the one hurdle. The rest of it is not going to be difficult. I think that the guys from Holley might allow me to use maybe some motor mounts and maybe even a front accessory deal, although I have all of the accessories to make a 5.3 work. So I think if I have to, I can just run the stock stuff, even though it will just be spinning like the AC and the power steering pump and that stuff, which won't be used for anything. In fact, I was looking at, when I was cleaning this off, I was looking at both the hoses are coming out from the, that's going to be the poll for tonight. Okay, on the Nova, it's a 72 Nova. It's all rusty. It's probably been underwater. It has both hoses coming out from the heater core. This had a running 250-inch inline 6-cylinder before I got it, which they had pulled out. My question is, for the poll for tonight on the Nova, it has the hoses running to the heater core. Is the heater core still solid? Does the heater core still work? Or let's just say, does the heater core leak in this thing? Does the heater core leak in the Nova. So this might be the most slanted poll that we've had here. Does the heater core leak in the Nova, or are you optimistic that it could work and I could actually have a heater when I drive? I don't think we'll need it because it's been pretty warm, but it's always good to have a heater just in case you need to have defrost and stuff. And it does get cold out in Vegas, so even this time of year. So does the heater core leak in the Nova? So we'll ask our community that. And we'll see what everybody thinks. So that's what's going on with the Nova. The other thing I have to do on the Nova is right now it has Krager SS wheels, which are kind of period correct for that deal. I wish it had the torque thrust deals that were originally on there. That's kind of why I wanted that car why I agreed to exchange what I exchanged for the vehicle. But it has Krager SS's on it. It's got 14s in the front and 15s in the rear. One of them in the rear has a bad valve stem, so I'm going to take that off just so that it holds, so that tire holds air. Ultimately, I'm going to have to put tires on this thing because I think it has mismatched tires and stuff and of questionable parentage. So I'll just put some other cheap tires on there, some that will work and drive. Right now, it's got drums all the way around. If they check out and will work, maybe rebuilding the slave cylinders or something. If all of that works, I might just keep drums on it to run it out to Vegas because this is a time element thing. If they're bad and they need to be replaced, they'll probably be replaced with discs anyway. So that all of that stuff is possible. Right now, the goal is just get it running and working and have it drive as a road trip out to Vegas. So that's the thing. So we've gone over the 8.1 turbo. We've gone over the Nova. The next thing, and the video that I'm working on right now, is a comparison between, if you haven't taken a look at the 8.1 turbo, you should take a look at that because I'm going to compare the 8.1 turbo NA and turbocharged to the recent L3353 that I did NA and turbocharged. And the reason that I'm doing that is because the stock 8.1, Kevin, thank you. Come on, like to share, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you very much. The 8.1 and the 5.3 with the Truck Norris cam in it from Brian Tooley Racing make the same power. They make the same peak NA power. Both of them make 424 horsepower. And not only that, when we ran the same turbo on them, same intercooler, same fuel, same injectors, same harness, same ECU, all of that, they were both run at the same boost level. So we have two wildly different power curves that make the same peak power, wildly different torque amounts, run both at 7 pounds. And then I'm going to compare those. And the other little bit of icing on the cake is that I have boost pressure and back pressure curves on both of those. So we'll get to talk about the change in back pressure from same boost, same peak power output, the change in back pressure between the two, and then the back pressure curves for both of them. It's cool stuff. And that's, and all of that happened purely by accident. It was not designed. It's just that when I ran them happened to run them at the same boost level, and they happened to make the same peak NA power. And then I got both boost pressure and back pressure curves on both of them. And I think I have charge temperature stuff too, which I didn't even look at yet. But I usually hook that up as well because we have a fitting for the thermocouple in the aluminum tubing that I always hook up to. So that will be interesting, and that's kind of good stuff. And then you get to kind of pick, and then the question will be, which one of these would you choose? And there's all kinds of stuff to talk about with gearing and all of that. So really lots of good stuff in that video, and I was excited about doing it. It's one of those ones that I said in the video that it's better to be lucky than good, because I have so many things going on when I'm down at West Tech trying to do 10 or 15 or whatever videos and stories and all kinds of stuff that a lot of times you can't plan that stuff. It just falls into your lap, which I'll totally take at this point. So stuff going on with the Nova, which is good. I want to get that thing done and at least get it running. And so that having a running vehicle is always better than not having a running vehicle. I need to find out about the Dodge Omni engine because I want to get an engine in the Omni and drive that around. I'm really excited about having that as a driver. So that's also in the cards. Lots of stuff going on. So let's see what you guys got going. So let's see. We already got some poll action going on here. 53 votes. We got 150 people here. Guys, jump up and vote, man. Is the heater core of the Nova, Is it going to, does it leak? Is it going to leak? We're getting 60% saying yes. I'm leaning toward that maybe a little bit, although it was on there and hooked up. So, and honestly, if it leaks just a little bit, it goes into the floorboard. Really, where's it going to go? It's just going to leak out through the hole that's in the floorboard. Okay, let's see what you guys got going on. Black pepper powder, Woody's 74 Nova. It's probably the original Harrison made with real brass in the United States. If it wasn't bypass, I wouldn't condemn it, just in case I have 4 feet of 3/4 hose in the trunk. I really could check it, I guess. I could run water through it and see if it's going to work. I do all my own work. I work for both as an auto and road truck mechanic for a decade. I don't have many good excuses. Let's see. I recall Jaguar suggested bars leak. Yeah, you could do those kinds of things to stop the leak. Put some compressed air in the heater. Yeah, we've got that. You won't survive. Larry, it doesn't matter. It's never going to be hooked up, so we'll never find out. I am going to hook it up. I'm definitely going to hook up the heater. If the heater core is solid, it's definitely going to get hooked up. Turbo Mons, I put a Vortex serpentine drive in a 71 Nova just fine. Just had to swap the power steering pump valve out for the old pump. This doesn't have power steering. It's a manual steering car, so that's not going to work. But and what I would like actually is one of the accessory setups from Holley, where all I have is the alternator. Obviously the water pump too, but the water pump and the alternator would be the only things I need. If you didn't cut the hose off, will it leak if you try to wiggle the hose off? That's what I'm worried about. Is it rusty enough that I undo the clamp and try to twist the hose and then the whole like fitting comes off? Aren't you somewhere warm? Where do you care about heater core? Still in the morning, it gets cold, and it definitely does out in Vegas, especially this time of year. It can get cold out there, and then having a defroster is also always a good idea. I mean, I could just put a jacket on. I don't care much about the heater, but defrost stuff is always good. An Explorer 8.8 would go nice under the rear. The Nova already has an 8.5 under it, so I'm solid on the rear end that's there. Heater core leaks tend to cause an oily film on the windshield. Well, this windshield's getting replaced, and it's got more problems than just that. I am in California. But you know it gets cold in California, right? I ran a Summit heater core with the built-in fan. I did my motor swap. Quite small and easy, nice. Plan to come out to the zip tie drags. I was thinking about trying to make a trip maybe to the duct tape drags, the Freiburgers deal. Grab the channel locks and twist it to break free. Well, we can get the hose off. I'm just worried about the fitting coming with the hose. I have a brand new OEM brass heater core still in the box somewhere. As I remember, my first car was a 70.5 split bumper Camaro, and I remember doing a heater core in that, and I promised myself that I would never do one again. This one would be a lot easier. There's a lot more access to stuff under there, so replacing the heater core wouldn't be hard. Cameron, a jacket and a beanie. Look, I drove a Jensen Healy the day after Christmas, basically, from here in the rain with my brother, and that's a British car, so you know it doesn't have a heater. As we were driving, it had a top, but then the top tore off, so all it had was the frame. So we drove that in the rain in December from Northern California to Southern California. So we stopped off in Rio Vista at the truck stop and got the Elmer Fudd hats with the flaps over the ears, which was just it was awesome. That's what road trips are all about. Does it have a posi? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. It just has a G92 308 axle ratio. When I jack it up, I can check. Today's not cold in California. It was 85 today, but up in the Sierras, it gets into the negative numbers. It also gets really hot in California. In fact, the hottest place in the United States is in California, in Death Valley. Michigan gets cold. You know that they have snow here, right? It's funny that people from other parts of the country think that California is just like a big beach. Do you have to drive it to the event? You could tow it to my place and drive it 70. No, that would be the goal, is to drive it. I want it to like make it all the way there, which it's got some pretty big hills to climb. It's got the Cajon Pass and then Mountain Pass, which are pretty steep. The desert does get cold. It snowed in Vegas when I lived there. I lived in Henderson, so it snowed there. I also lived in Tahoe, and we got obviously snow there all the time. How much torque or horsepower can the stock rods of the 8.1 take, and how much boost can you safely run not adding ring gap? I don't know. You're on your own with no ring gap thing, because you don't know what the ring gap is, and then it's not just how much boost. There's not an amount of boost per ring gap. That doesn't work that way. It's how long you're under boost, what the gap actually is, which you don't know if you didn't take the motor apart, how long you're under boost, how much temperature you put in it. There's a lot of things that go into that. A big block Jensen Mopar. It wasn't a Jensen Interceptor. It was a Jensen Healy. So it was the little 4-cylinder twin overhead cam Lotus motor, which is really cool with 2 side drafts on it. It was my favorite part about the car, obviously. Hook it up to a garden hose. That's probably what I'll do. Yeah, Jensen Healy and Jensen Interceptor are wildly different things. Yeah, this was a 6-cylinder car. Now, it's probably not a Pazzi. I wouldn't think it is. Let me know if you want to do floorboards quick. I would eventually want to do that if I thought that would fix all of the rest of the problems with the car, but I don't think it will. And honestly, to just drive it to Vegas, I don't care about if it's a Pazzi. I don't care if it pops wheelies. Just as long as it goes and drives out there. Yeah, Jensen's used 383s and 440s in some of their Interceptors. California is always 73 degrees. It's always sunny. Yep, not either one of those. High taxes, probably that. Yeah, plethora of nutty politicians, which it's that in every state in the country. Get a mini spool. Yeah, I wouldn't trade weather. I wouldn't want to go work when it's negative numbers. The Elmer hats are the way to go. It was a fashion statement. I just wanted to just wear it around all the time after we wore it in our in our little British sports car. Yeah, they get snow in Arizona too. I've driven through Flagstaff. I've driven through snow there a lot. My son was just out there for a robotics competition, and there was snow on the ground. If you swap the 8.1 into your Nova right now with 420 horsepower, it should run mid 11s to mid 12s. That's a big change. a whole second with the existing rear axle and okay traction. I don't know that the Saginaw would be happy behind the 8.1. You need experience driving a VW Bug in 30 below. I've never done that. You have ice scraper one steering wheel and the other, scraping the ice off. Yeah, I've done when I was racing World Challenge, we had a wipey stick because it was raining and the windshield would fog up. So I'm driving down, with cars all in front of you, spraying everywhere. We didn't have windshield wipers. I had a wipey stick on the inside to clear out the all the fog. It was entertaining. People are asking me to take the hoses off. Why would you want to take the hoses off? If the hoses are there and they work and the core works, then I already have hoses and a core. It's already solved. The hoses are not going to reach. I'm sure that if I put the LS in, the hoses are definitely going to have to be different. It snowed in Las Vegas. It snowed in Henderson when I lived there, and it lasted more. And it lasted 3 days. And this was not in 1973. This was within the last 10 or 15 years that I was there. But yeah, not a lot. Not like it does in the Sierras. Just saying, only takes a day if you want to. If you only takes a stack of Harbor Freight cutoff wheels. So are you changing the whole floor pan? Because they sell those. I looked into that. I like to rebuild the heater systems while the engine is out if I plan to use it. Best way to add horsepower to a 454 cheap. Cam is the best thing. I don't know what induction system you have on there, but a cam will go a long way. Cam and springs. Do you think there's an advantage of having build a custom cam for my performance actual LS1 truck build? I don't know what actual LS1 in quotes means, but I don't know why you'd have somebody build a custom cam unless you're at the very highest level of drag racing. There's about 1 million shelf cams that will do whatever it is you want it to do. Richard, have you tested intake runner length on Roots type superchargers? Yes, it does the same thing that it does on every other forced induction application. Runner length helps determine what the RPM that the intake is effective at, whether it's a Roots blower or a twin screw or a positive display, any positive displacement, a centrifugal, turbos, whatever. Freiberger recently did a test with the standard, really short runner, typical kind of 871 Roots blower manifold on a big block. And then they ran that same blower on a tunnel ram, and then the long runner of the tunnel ram makes more NA and it makes more under boost, as you would expect. Yeah, the emissions testing is a nice aspect of being out there. Minus 76, that's pretty cold. Yep, battle bots. The 3-speed would be happier than a turbo 350 behind the 8.1. You think so? You think that the Saginaw is stronger than a turbo 350? At low RPM, your turbo isn't making much boost. You need to look at the 8.1. This is I don't know. I need to look whether it's a monoleaf or a multi-leaf. I was just under there too. All I saw was rust. I'll check it out though. Who's Nova? It's my Nova in the poll, and it's nicknamed Nova's Ark because it's been underwater. So the question is, did all that rust also get to the heater core? The heater core has hoses on it right now, and it had a motor in it, and it was running, but we don't know if they work. My 86 vet dyno at 355 rear wheel horsepower and 360 torque went 1125 at 122. That's a lot of mile an hour. Richard, how would you get in touch with you for a question about a Windsor fox buy? Live in Japan, want to ship a fox here, but need to make sure the logistics are perfect beforehand. You can use my email address. I don't know much about shipping or that kind of stuff, but both sides, firewall and rear seat seam. The floor has holes in it in every footwell, basically. Use a small copper pipe to into the existing hose. Yeah, I can use a you know, a joiner to go hose. Did you autocross when you lived in Henderson? No, I didn't. I haven't really done much autocrossing. I did a lot of road racing, but not autocrossing. I have an 8.1 that I'm about to repurpose into a Suburban. That's a good application for that. Did you decide which heads are going to make the most torque? Did I get a question? Kurt, you drove in New York with no heater? That's not fun. Justin, you can repurpose your intercooler core. I'm putting 575 horsepower and 535 foot-pounds to a Saginaw. Is it a Saginaw 3-speed? Holding so far, soft launches and using the clutch. Okay. Every Rust Belt race car has rust holes. This has big ones. Yeah, Kurt, I'm not really worried about the rear end on this. I'm a little more concerned about the trans, although I'm feeling a little bit better about it if people are actually using it and stuff. I'm not going to be driving it hard enough to hurt it until after I would get back from LS Fest. How do you match converter stall to engine power for drag strip? Usually the camshaft kind of dictates that. You can get floor patch panels for the Nova. You can also get right side and left side, and I think you might be able to get front and back. How's the 2.2 head coming? I haven't talked to David Visor hasn't called me, so I don't know whether it's done or not. And I have the Magnum in my garage. My question is, do you think a 496 stroker build is better than the stock 8.1 496 engine? Well, you could build a 496 that makes more power than a stock 8.1 496 fairly easily, because you have one of them that's stock and one of them that's not. Admiral's on board. The camshaft dictates stall speed, because if you don't have enough, if your camshaft is big and you don't make enough torque down low, the thing's not going to launch very well. So the bigger the camshaft, the higher the stall speed is going to be. Yeah, every panel is available for the Nova. All of that stuff is possible to restore the Nova if you just change all the panels on it. But it would be better just to start with one that's has a lot more good going in. Dual exhaust all the way to the rear bumper, and the mufflers will provide some heating. They will a little bit. I remember how hot, running a wide open throttle, they certainly do, because I remember how hot the floorboard got when I was racing my Mustang in the Silver State, and we had a lot of airflow obviously into that because we're going very, very fast. But even more so down when I raced in a road rally down in Mexico, it gets pretty hot. Would torque peak be too high for a converter stall? Normally, it's probably below that, unless it's a, maybe if it's only a drag race application. Turbo Monza, you sent me an email, right? I'll send you some photos of the Nova. You can get an idea. I'm ordering a K member tomorrow. My check comes in. Any suggestions? I don't know if the suspension place I like for Mustangs, if that's what that is, if that's what you're talking about, is what's the place here in California? Oh, it's not Steeda. I'll think about it. Any chance you'll ever play with a direct injection setup? I have run L83 stuff and other LT1 stuff with Brian out at Brian Tooley Racing. No, it's not Celine. It's not Hotchkiss. Let's see. Yeah, Dan, the floorboards, they do get hot. I remember. I'm glad that I had my race shoes on. It's not Kenny Brown. It's not JBA. It's not. How's our poll doing here? 62% say yes. Will, does the heater core leak in the Nova? So we're looking at like yes. What is the max power stock LS3 heads on pump gas with supporting mods? We've made the most power I've ever made with a stock LS3 head, and this was on pump gas, but it was on a really big motor. We made 680 or 690 or something, but it was on a big motor because they flow 315 CFM. So they'll support that kind of power if you have enough motor to do that. It's not UMI. When will you tell us if the heater core leaks? I can tell you probably tomorrow. I could do a test on it. Have you ever done a video on tuning with a fast? What's FASS? Are you talking about fast? I built a supercharged small block for it. The trans is holding up 9,000 miles. Nice. Let me see. Mustang. Now it's bothering me. I can't remember that. I had it on my 98. Maximum Motorsports. That's what it was. That's that can't work really well for me. It will only leak if you put fluid. Chad's in the house. It will only leak if you put fluid in it. So if it has air, it works just fine. Is that what it is? So we just need to run hot air through it, right? So Chad, you need to fly out to Ontario before LS Fest and then ride out with me in the Nova. So I have somebody to help me push it up the Cajon Pass. Is spraying meth worth the cost on an NA streetcar? On some of them it is. On a Coyote, it's definitely worth it. On a direct injected LT motor, it is. But on most of them, Jerry, you emailed me today. What was your question? And I answer all the emails. So if I didn't see it, I didn't see it. Let me see. Let me see where you're at. Joshua Summit. You're not, no, you're not that one. Copy. I got stuff from Turbo Monza. Got stuff from Corsair guy. Jerry, I'm not seeing anything. I think you might be making stuff up. Oh, there we are. Looking for some opinions. Direct me in the right way. I found a Cam 5.3. Okay. A guy selling me a stock 6-liter. I answered that. In fact, here's the answer that I sent to you. The 6-liter is always more desirable, but if you need a trans, then a 4L80 is a good one for power. So I did answer. So there. Mexico's in the house. I'd like to hop up a late model 7.4 454 on old school parts. I'd like to see 450 to 500 horsepower and 550 foot-pounds of torque. You can do that. A dual plane intake is like a 750 or 850 carburetor, a camshaft. I don't know what heads you have on it. The heads are going to make a difference. So Richard, you know anything about Strange Engineering? We've done some stuff with the rear ends that they do, I think. Why do you travel to Canada, or is that you travel to SoCal? A lot of driving. Well, why would I travel? I've been to Canada many times up to go race, if that's what your question is. I travel to Southern California though to go testing. I need to do roll racing in the Nova. Strange is good stuff. Ride Tech, they make good quality stuff. Yeah, Ontario, California is not Canada. Yeah, that's what I meant. Maybe that was a confusion. Yeah, it's Ontario, Southern California. I run Saginaw's with good luck, but never put big power. And I'm not going to do dumping the clutch and putting power on. I just want the Nova to drive around. I thought you freaking salvage yards up there. I've never been to a salvage yard in Canada. Although where did we went to a couple of them because we had to find a hood because at one of the World Challenge races, we left I left the hood at the race back at the shop, hanging up on the wall. 5.3, 706 heads, truck Norris cam. What's next for power on the street truck? Do you have long tube headers on it? Do you have a Trailblazer SS? Yeah, 4L80 is good. In a 6-liter, it's the right trans to have. Everybody told me the thing that makes me feel better about this 3-speed is that everybody told me that they break T5s left and right. And I had my T5 in my car for, I don't know, 85 or 90,000 miles with a blower, with heads, with a cam. I road raced it endlessly in SCCA showroom stock and in a sedan, ran it out at the Silver State, ran in top speed events, raced it around on the street, all kinds of stuff. Ran that transmission in the Long Beach Grand Prix and the Bridgestone Supercar Series. I didn't like abuse it. We just shifted a lot with it, and road racers know how to shift. Got any shop recommendations in Southern California? Got a 70 Nova. I don't know what you want done with it. The guys from West Tech are not really a shop. They do dyno testing. So if the thing's all together and ready to dyno test, they can do that. Yeah, Jerry, you're going to have to decide. But that's why I provide the power curves. You get to decide which one of those you want. My Cougar 3.8-liter V6 single turbo has no torque until 3,500. You could put a smaller turbo on it, but nitrous is an option. Just put a really small shot on it. Do you think that the LS platform not running water through the intakes helps power gain compared to conventional motors? No, because I think that I got a bug. The water is not what's going to heat the intake manifold. All the rest of the motor. I mean, the nice thing about the LS is it's got a composite intake, and so that tends to like an aluminum intake radiates heat. So it's going to grab heat from the engine and radiate it out. So that's why the intake is hot. The composite one does less of that. So I think it has less to do with the water running through it. Yeah, we have a Paris in California as well. Yeah, 20 or 25 horsepower shot is not, will help the turbo spool up, definitely. Four years to LS Fest, are you going to make it? I don't know. I have to talk Lisa into, I have to give her the bad news and tell her I'm going to be gone for a lot of April. So we're at 64% thinking that the heater core is going to leak in the Nova. Any experience or thoughts on Ford's rug trans? I don't know what that is, so probably don't have any experience with it. Okay, one thing you should do to the 3-speeds, replace the lube with 7590 synthetic fluid. Zach, building a street 489 for my C20 with dual plane, E85 carb with primary diameter. I don't think you're going to see a big difference between those, but an 1 7/8 or 2" would be fine for that. Right now, Daniel, right now I'm not going to sell the aluminum 5.3 because it's the motor I'm choosing to go in the Nova to make the trip. Maybe after that. Yeah, you do need a lot of fuel injector if you're going to run E85. When we ran both the 5.3 and the 8.1 with the turbo on it, we had 80s in it, which was more than enough. And with E85 and the amount of boost that we were running and the amount of power that we were making. Daniel, what was your comment? Oh yeah, on the 5.3. Thinking about it, if it's a monoleaf non-posi, we won't break the rear end because it won't hook up. And I'm not going to be, like I said, I'm not going to be banging shifts in this thing. The idea would be to get it running and have it be safe-ish, and then have it drive and make it all the way without overheating or breaking down, to Vegas. Justice, why are you throwing that kind of money around? A dollar, $1.289 is more than enough. I'm curious, what's the hottest cam the 8 can take with a stock piston to valve clearance? Here's to the fun. Thank you very much. I'll find out. I mean, what we're going to do is I'm going to put some kind of bigger cam in it, a Ralar cam or a comp cam. I already have the ZZ502 cam, the 7.4 liter, this Gen 6 one, and then I'll measure piston to valve clearance. We'll rotate it around. I'll put a checker spring on it, and we'll find out at every point how much more we have left and see what we can do. I think we might even have another Gen 6 cam that's like a 230 duration at 50, something like that, and we'll see if that can fit. And then obviously I will let everybody know how much we can put in there. But thank you very much. That will help with the getting the Nova going. Mention 5.3 again, and the 4.8 versus 5.3 ring wear guy will chime in. So the ring wear is going to be a problem between those two motors. A 58 millimeter should make 500 horsepower. Yeah, shout out to the man. Yeah, the M22 is the rock crusher, right? That's okay, Justin. You know how to do the shipping. You just wondered about, if you wondered about engine parts and power, I can definitely help with that. 6.2 is the one you're going to want to keep for a nice daily driver. I do actually have a Admiral. The T56 is a nice trans. I actually have a T56 for an LS, which could go in there, but I'm not going to put it in the Nova. I wanted to put the T56 with an LS actually in the 240Z. Nova needs a K series. Yep, that would be good. Or even a J. Got 2 more minutes. Any tips and tricks for longevity under boost? Well, it depends on what level of boost or power, not boost, that you're going to run, and then how long you want the longevity. Most people that go get a wrecking yard motor are not concerned about that motor lasting 100,000 miles because it was a few $100s. So if you put ring gap in it and go out and boost it, and it runs for 1 season or 2 seasons, and you have to buy another one, you already have all the turbo stuff. All that stuff just comes off, and then you just go get another one from the wrecking yard. Just think of them as disposals. That being said, they can last for a long time if they're tuned properly. Wow, Chad, Richard isn't a transmission guy. He's a horsepower guy. Wow, just throwing shade left and right. Nothing but love. An aluminum 5.3 with a T56 and a 240 would be definitely awesome. And now that I have an aluminum 5.3, it would be good, right? The trick flow kit for a 454 is really good. I could run out and get it, but is anybody looking for an intake manifold for an LS to mount a positive displacement supercharger? I think I have one of the Speedmaster units that will accept a 671 or an 871. I think it's a 671. So if anybody's looking for that, I brought that home with me, and I'll post it up somewhere. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know. Richard, max power stock LS3 injectors on pump gas. I don't know. It depends on your brake specific fuel consumption. It depends on a lot of things. You can actually get away with more than the power formula that I give for injectors, because the brake specific fuel consumption number on an LS is actually pretty good. You can do way more than twice the flow rate that for the formula that I give. I just don't know how much more you can do. Corsair guy, yes, I did get I saw the list. I responded to that too. Put the 8.1 in the Nova, probably not that. I need to, if I'm going to go to LS Fest, which is the goal, I have to put an LS in it. Interested in a Pro Charger or a Vortec for an LS or other one? At what horsepower do you think the 8.1 liter will break 1,000 foot-pounds of torque? We can get to 1,000 foot-pounds of torque with just a little bit more boost. And it would only be like at, let's see, we're at 638 or we're at 660 and 870 foot-pounds. So it's going to be like high 7s probably. What's the highest boost you've ever seen? That would be on one of Mahovit's deals. Is the LS7 factory intake considered good like the LS3? No, it's not. It's not good. The LS7 factory intake is not nearly as good, relatively speaking, as the LS3 intake manifold. The LS7 on the LS7 motors, a fast or even better, an MSD atomic intake is a really good upgrade. Doesn't the Superflow 902 top out at 1,200 foot-pounds? We've made more than that. I think that theirs is 2,000. Maybe it's 2,000 horsepower. I don't know. I have to ask Brule. Tyler, you did. That's the biggest donation on the channel everywhere. So you guys better step up your game. Dan is trying to win the most boost question. So he's seen 150 PSI on a tractor pull. Come on, Nova. Okay, so let's close out our poll. So we're at, does the heater core leak in the Nova? 63% are saying yes. I'm surprised that we had 37% saying no. So again, they're like positive mental attitude. So we'll end the poll there. I'll be able to test that. In fact, I'll just go out probably and test that tonight. If not, I'll test it in the morning tomorrow. Best bag for your Buck LS. I don't know which one you're talking about. They all can make lots of power. So just go to the wrecking yard, get an LS, put a cam springs and boost in it, and you can make lots of power. It'll only leak if you put fluid in it. Chad. $300 would buy a tank of gas for the 8.1. Yes, my heater core is always half full. Chad, so are you going to fly out and ride out in the Nova? It's a gem. Well, not gem so much as think of it as a cream puff little fixer-upper opportunity. It's a road trip, man. We can stop off, get some alien beef jerky at the big thermometer. It's got all the patina you could ask for. You don't want to change it to Oakland. You want to change it to Ontario because that the Nova will be down at West Tech, not here. Yeah, glasses will be necessary. It's dark. We're wearing sunglasses. I'll be working on it at West Tech. The West Tech guys just don't know about that yet, so I might have to sneak it in there. Yes, the alien beef jerky is good out there. Okay, let me finalize that plan. I've got to make sure that that's going to be okay with Rick and those guys. You know, it's dirty, so. I bet the Nova ain't that bad. I hope it doesn't get towed away. I know that, but that wasn't at West Tech. That was at another shop. And it didn't get towed away. It got stolen. Yep, put a block off plate. Okay, Chad, I'll let you know. Thanks, buddy. That would be cool. We can wear goggles and Tack, your stock rods on your 302 and yours will be the last response. Thank you again for the 300. That was awesome. Not Tack, but the 300. But the stock rods are fine. We've run, boost on those. You're not going to make a million horsepower. You're probably going to break the block maybe before that happens. Blues Brothers road trip. That's right. Now all I need is cop spring and cop suspension and cop tires and cop brakes is what I'm really wanting. The nut tree is still here, but it's way different than it used to be. Now it's just a conglomeration of stores. Okay, guys, I got to get going. I have work to do. I got to go see if the radiator or the heater core in the Nova is leaking now. And now I also get to take all the rest of the interior pieces that are sitting in there. And now that I've done a lot of the engine bay, and now I can get in and get underneath it and spray off the diff and all that stuff. And I think that the pressure washer will take a lot of that stuff off. I was in the midst last time I opened the trunk of getting that ready to spray and paint the trunk. I don't know, like that would make a difference for what else is going on there. But I'll take some pictures for turbo and show you what's going on. Justice, once again, thank you very much. I'll find out what cam we can put in that 8.1 because I'm kind of curious too. Usually they're in the 230 to mid 230 at 50 range on the intake. We don't know on the 8.1. I don't know what the valve drop is on that. And I don't know what the piston looks like. I don't know any of that, but I will find out. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you guys all for showing up, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.